So I enjoy a lot of campy media, and Disney Channel original movies are no exception. There's such a push and pull from great premises and concepts to the questionable lines in story structure.
Alex. Come in. Something on your mind besides that Diamo car?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But one thing that really grabbed my attention about a lot of these DComs is how they shed light on a lot of different cultures and special interests and talents, making these really fun movies. Some movies, like Life is Rough with Kyle Massey, aka Corey in the House, revolve around a boy and his newly adopted dog while incorporating the niche of dog shows. And yes, I've cried at a Kyle Massey movie, thanks for asking. In terms of cultural commentary, there's movies such as Luck of the Irish that highlight the history and struggles of Irish immigrants in America while also drawing parallels to the oppression faced by African Americans.
I mean, when the Irish came to America, things were tough, and they had to work at jobs other people wouldn't take, and they didn't get paid what they deserved.
Well, at least they got paid.
And while that might sound really poignant, in execution, most of these movies are pretty campy and suffer from questionable editing, cheesy dialogue, and flawed story structure. So today I want to talk about Full Court Miracle, a movie that interestingly recreates the story and events of Hanukkah through a game of basketball while also shedding light on the true story of Lamont Carr, an athlete with one of the more unique stories I've ever heard. We start the movie meeting our main character Alex, a 14-year-old basketball-loving Jewish boy who aims to win this big basketball tournament with his team of scrubs. You might recognize Alex as he's played by Alex D. Linz, who's most known for his starring roles in Home Alone 3, or where I most know him from, Max Keeble's Big Move. Good movie. So in the movie, Alex attends the Philadelphia Hebrew Academy and learns about the story of Judah and the Maccabees. So the story of Judah is pretty significant in Judaism, as it tells the tale of the defense of their practice from the Seleucid army through cunning wit and guerrilla warfare tactics. If you're not familiar with the Seleucid Empire, the key thing to note is that it's a Greek empire from the Hellenistic period, which was the period in Mediterranean history after the death of Alexander the Great, until the rise of Augustus in Rome from 323 BC to 32 BC. So now this video has at least one thing you can take away from it, I guess. So after Judah's victory, they lit a menorah in the temple and it only had enough oil for one night, but miraculously it lasted 8 nights and stands as a powerful symbol of God's presence to those of Jewish faith. We see Alex learn the story of Judah and the Maccabees, and he imagines it as a game of basketball, and like, look at this scene with the Greeks and Israelites ballin'. This is the level of camp I love about Disney Channel original movies. It goes hard and is camp. If it goes hard and is camp, maybe I can coin the term boot camp, but we'll talk about Cadet Kelly another time. So Alex talks to the rabbi about getting a real coach for the basketball team, and they talk about how the team needs their own Judah Maccabee. The rabbi is like a Judas Yoda though.
When or where is not the question. The question is, will you recognize this Judah when you see him?
Alex and his friends play basketball in the park and are mesmerized by this random guy just shooting hoops. And I have to go back to this clip because he twists the whole damn hoop around here. Damn. Alex tries to approach this guy, asking him his name and stuff, but the guy doesn't answer. Alex challenges him to a game of horse, and the guy threatens to put him through the hoop and drives off. But Alex remembers his license plate and looks it up online, finding out his name and info, and while stalking him, finds out his name is Lamont Carr, and that he played basketball for the Virginia Cavaliers. Also, the license plate JM165 is like Judah Maccabee in the year 165 BC. This helps lead the boys to the natural conclusion that this random guy that was shooting hoops in the park is Judah Maccabee. So the kids see Lamont practicing again, and Alex tries to convince his friends to look like they don't suck, so that would entice Lamont to help coach the team, and I really love this sequence.
That's my team practicing over there. TJ, Joker, Stick, and Big Ben.
Lamont says he doesn't have time to coach the team, and Alex says, yes you do, which is crazy to say to someone, but his justification for it is legitimately insane.
I checked out on the web.
You what?
Your name's Lamont Carr. You played for the University of Virginia. After playing for the Cavaliers, you went to the Continental Basketball Association where you played for 5 years. Till you wrecked your knee and had to have 3 surgeries.
Like, that's when you shove someone through a basketball hoop. This kid is scary. Alex pays Lamont to coach the team for an hour, and they just run and do conditioning because that's the quickest way to make a really bad team at least a little better, according to Lamont. When practice is over, we see Lamont go back to his van, and it's revealed he lives alone in his van under the bridge.
And I live in a van by the river!
Now, the school is skeptical of kids being coached by a random stranger in the park, so the rabbi invites Lamont to dinner with Alex's family, where they discuss the possibility of Lamont coaching the school basketball team, while he's waiting to potentially get a chance to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. So Alex shows Lamont a bit of his home and life, which mirrors nicely later in the movie when Alex discovers Lamont lives in his van, and they share a meal together in which Alex learns Lamont's family is back in Virginia, as Lamont's here waiting for a chance at his dream. The team finally starts to build up some momentum, learning some individual strengths, like when you're mad, think of something that makes you happy. In this case, he shouts the name of a girl he likes when he's mad, which might be a little creepy, but it works, I guess. This momentum comes to a halt when Lamont gets a 10-day contract to go play for the 76ers, finally opening the door to his dream. The kids are frozen, like, "You're not gonna coach us?" And it's a little crazy they wouldn't even be a little hyped their coach is gonna play in the NBA. They're just kids though, so I don't know, the tournament's a big deal to them, but it's kind of funny when Alex says, "Think about your family." Like, he is thinking about his family. He's gonna provide for them with his dream of being in the NBA. The movie kind of creates a mild dilemma for the coach of like, maybe his family doesn't need the money from him being in the league, they just need him, kind of like how the team needs him. But to me it kind of feels like they're flinging a bunch of random mortals all at once, but like, you know, it does just enough. Telling someone not to join the NBA to coach their middle school though is pretty crazy. Like, I'd be a little more convinced if they pushed this plotline a little further. Maybe they said something like, NBA players are always on the road, you'd still be away from your family even if you do get the job. You know, I feel like that would be a little bit of a good thing to contemplate. The other drama in this storyline comes from Alex's mom really pushing him to pursue a career as a doctor, trying to get him involved with a program instead of playing ball. And I think it's a captivating enough dilemma of trying to push Alex to pursue a realistic career path, but Alex confronts his mom and expresses what basketball means to him and how he wants her to trust him and be proud of him. And it's a sweet scene before the finale of the movie. Between this and the finale of the movie, there's just kind of some random things like how they show Lamont is homeless and they get a home for him, which is really nice, but you know, they're dodging the principal who wants to find out his real address and he's giving her a fake address. Also, Alex begins failing his classes, so his team helps him study for tests by feeding him questions while he dribbles a basketball, and you know, most of these kind of in-between moments between now and the final game don't really have much to do with the central conflict, so it's best just to kind of skip over them. So we get to the basketball tournament without Lamont, and the team does pretty well. Now, I kind of hate the editing of the tournament montage. Like, there's a cut or two every second, and the footage is at like 3 times speed at least. It gives me motion sickness, and it's a shame because I like watching the actual basketball parts of the sequence. They're just not as often as I'd like them to be, and when they're on, they're too fast. I wish I could say the same about the dreidel rap. So the championship game is happening on a stormy night. The Lions are losing, still missing their coach, when all of a sudden, the electricity in the gym goes out and they break open the emergency generator. The generator only has a few minutes of power left, so they decide to continue the basketball game, but only until the generator goes out, with whoever's winning when it goes out being crowned the champion. So the other team has a 10-point lead and decides just to stall and take a really long time out, like a bunch of pansies, but 2 miracles occur. First, Lamont shows up. Alex's mom found Lamont fixing up his van after his game with the 76ers, and I guess in exchange for helping him out with his travel for his next game, he decided to show up for the championship. She magically gets his car to work because she's God or something and wills the car to work, and when we see Lamont show up, the generator is just about to turn off. But the second miracle occurs here, in which the generator somehow stays on, allowing the Lions to continue the basketball game. It's a pretty clever parallel to the Hanukkah menorah that lasted 8 nights, to have a generator that lasts like, I don't know, 8 minutes. And we see the Lions make a comeback, and in the final moments, we see Alex pass the ball, trusting his teammates, and we see a pretty swaggy hookshot buzzer beater. After the game, we see Lamont's family show up, and Lamont says that maybe he was right. If he decides to coach the basketball team, he can provide for his family and be with them. This would sound kinda crazy, but I appreciate that they know Lamont has a knee injury, and it's not just him rejecting the NBA because a kid told him to, but there's a multitude of factors leading to this sweet ending of family, faith, and perseverance. So I wanted to take a quick moment to talk about Lamont Carr, the person the movie is based off of. So yes, the coach in the movie was actually a real person, but there was interesting liberties taken with his character. For example, he didn't coach a Jewish basketball team in Philly, it was actually in Boca Raton, Florida. Now he did lead this team to a championship, but his real story is so interesting and goes far beyond what we see in the movie. We don't really see race mentioned in this movie, but it is important to note Lamont was the first African American basketball player to graduate from the University of Virginia. And while this isn't mentioned in the movie, there's a really interesting intersection between Judaism and African Americans the movie tries to find common ground with through basketball. The movie notes the prominence of Jewish basketball players and their impact on the popularity of basketball in the earlier parts of the 1900s, even up to the 1960s. And I feel it's important to note even articles I read about the history of Jewish basketball note a distinct playstyle amongst Jewish players of constant passing and driving to the basket, and its connection to, quote, the mental acuity and lack of size of Jews. The lack of size and athleticism, or at least the perception of this, is mentioned in the movie through the self-doubt of Alex's teammates because they're Jewish, as well as Alex's obsession with basketball being a fruitless endeavor, in all likelihood because he's small and Jewish, which his own mom even says. But we also see the Jewish Rabbi Yoda drawing up plays for the team inspired by the tactics of Judah. Like the rabbi tells a story of Judah's army having this fight in tunnels where they only built left turns so his army could defend with their right hands, and the Greeks would be forced to attack with their left hands to swing around these corners and stuff. So a good tactic would be for the kids to drive to the left side of the basket, similar to this story. It kinda doesn't make sense though, because if they drive to the left, wouldn't they be attacking the right hand of a defender with their weak hand? But it's just a little metaphor, who cares? Going back to Lamont Carr, it's surprising how little I could find about him even after this movie came out in 2003. Like, one of the two main articles I could find about him was an article in Sports Illustrated about Carr's avid promotion of dart tournaments from 1993. So yeah, arguably the most sports recognition Lamont Carr got, the first African American basketball player to graduate from UVA, who got a Disney Channel original movie based off of him, was for his contributions to the world of darts. What I find really interesting though is how Lamont's character is described by his peers. He was known as a highly passionate man who had an insatiable thirst for knowledge in whatever he pursued, and this desire for knowledge propelled him in all different directions beyond coaching. From attending law school to becoming a wine connoisseur, his friend Joel Silverman says, whatever he was interested in, he would school himself to become an expert. He could dominate a wine tasting. And that's so funny to me. Like, I'd love to know more about how someone can dominate a wine tasting. But it just goes to show the passion Lamont Carr had and how that inspired others throughout his life. And while there's not a whole lot I can find about Lamont Carr or this movie, I think Full Court Miracle is a fun little movie with a unique premise that sheds light on Jewish culture, referencing one of the most unique sports stories I've heard in quite a while. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.